Hey everyone, all my peeps, all my new peeps, thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate you coming on board. Even though it says, I think today that I have 537 subscribers, you have to understand that I started, well, my channel had been dead for like 4 or 5 years, and it was left off with like 512, and maybe 12 of those still come around. I don't know where the other 500 are, so I just feel like I'm sort of starting from scratch again. So I know some of the 500 are dead, literally. Their channels are still there, so if some of you 500 are still out there, hello, here I am. Come back, say hello. So I am working on some new projects, and even though I said I was sort of tired of amigurumi, I had to make one because my friend's birthday is coming up. Well, it's actually today, but we're having a party for her on Sunday, and she had seen this little amigurumi that I made for another friend, and I'd given it to the other friend, and she was like, oh, I just love those, so I made her one. It's this little sun. And this sun, well, now I have to make another one because somebody else saw it. It's such an easy pattern though. And it comes from, let's see, where's this thing? It comes from this book. And so you can see it right there on the front. But it is such a simple pattern. And then once you learn this edge, boy, you could put that little edge on anything. It's real similar to like a scallop edge. But anyways, there's my little sun guy. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so there's that. I did finish the the fifth Jada in Stitches blanket, but I haven't done the sun on, but it's all done. Let's see, oh, come here, and I'll show it to you. Although they're all the same, pretty much. Okay, I'll just tell you what yarns I used. This yarn down here is, what yarn is that? I think it's Old Blue, and it's a Craft Smart yarn. I don't know what color this brown is, or who made it, because it's one that came from the thrift store, and it didn't have a label on it, but it was a huge skein of it, this stuff. It doesn't quite feel like Red Heart, so I don't know. Then, as you can kind of see, it's kind of in the shade here, I don't know why. There are two shades of green, and this green is called Dazzle yarn, and it is I saved the, oh, whoops, that's the wrong label. Wait a minute, let me see where it is. Okay. This stuff. And it is actually a Caron yarn. I don't know how old it is because this label is old. This color is evergreen. And I have one more skein of it. I plan to use it up on yet another blanket like this one. Because my next door neighbor has 10 grandkids, so they're not all getting this blanket. They'll get different ones, and they're such different ages too that this blanket wouldn't be good for all of them. But what I want to say with my little sun guy, this yellow here, also one of those weird yarns that came from the thrift store, and it's called, this is the label, Spinny Yarn. And I don't know how old it is. It was pretty old because It only cost 88 cents, and unfortunately my friend paid $1 for it in the thrift store. So I was like, well, I appreciate the gesture of getting me the yarn, but I don't want to pay $1 for something that costs 88 cents originally. Anyways, it was actually distributed by Technical Marketing Associates in Los Angeles. I have no idea how old this yarn is. If anybody knows anything about spinning yarn, let me know. Okay, so this label now can go in the garbage. I have just a little bit of that yarn left, but not enough to do another sun like this, so I have to use a different yellow, light yellow. Okay, so let me put that aside. Where am I going to put that? Okay, right here. I'll put this aside. Okay, then I am starting yet another Jade and Stitches 2019 calendar blanket, but I wanted to show you how I start them like she does. Okay, come here. I am actually using this Red Heart Super Sailor Macaw, which I think is beautiful. And I don't usually like variegated yarns at all. And some might call this an ombre, but I would still say it's variegated. But it's really quite lovely. And so I'm going to do this for the bottom part for the water. So what I do, if you haven't started it yet, of course you have 110 chains, and so I just mark it off with a chain marker, chain stitch every 10, because, well, you just hate to get to the end and have miscounted. But one thing that I do, she recommends using, I think this is a 5.5, yes. Normally I use a 5.5 crochet hook to do them, but when I do the chain part, I go up a size, and this is a 6.0 millimeter. And that way my chain is not too tight, because sometimes when you do a project and you use the same hook for the starting chain as you use for the rest of the work, that first row it can kind of be a little warped and tight on the bottom. But if you use a hook size up just to make the chain, then it comes out, it just flows together real nicely, and you don't have that slight warping and tightness. It just feels perfect. So thought I'd show that. And I thought I'd do a scarf, yet another scarf. I have 10 in stock right now. I'll probably end up giving those to the neighbors' grandkids too. Although we all live in California, so it's like, who wears a scarf in California? I don't know. Maybe I'll donate them to a homeless shelter at the end of the year. Anyways, but my others have all been corner to corner, and I think I'll just do this back and forth double crochet. Besides, I still have some yarn that I actually want to use up, so that I can replenish with some new yarns and do different things. But almost all my yarn is solid color. So, oh, I got to go to Kroger again today and get yet another one of butterscotch. Oops, sorry. Where are you? Here you are. Butterscotch toffee coffee. My favorite. So, one of these days I want to talk non-yarny about how I became homeless on purpose. I'm not homeless now, and when I was homeless I never was without a roof and a house to be in, and it was only for a very short time, but it was sort of it was necessary to deal with the situation. I just had to get out. and it didn't have anything to do with a guy or a relationship or anything. Just, I had to get out of a situation. And I do want to talk about that. But I have to like plot it out so that I don't leave out any details. Anyhow, that is my yarny vlog for the day, which is not too much. Still have not progressed on this guy. I will get back to him. He's not a high priority, that's why I'm taking so long. Probably a higher priority is to make another one of these guys. Oh, and then that same friend that's getting this, I'm also making her a keychain with a bee, amigurumi hanging off of it, which I'm just going to make up one. The bee that I showed in a different video is just a little bit too big for a keychain, and I had made her one before, and it was perfect for a keychain, but she's had it for maybe a year and a half, and it's just filthy, and she can't get it clean anymore. You know, it gets stuffed in and out of the purse, and it just will not come clean. So I'm going to make her a new one, but I'll just make up something new. Anyhow, that's it for this one, and I will show my progress on my 6th Jade and Stitches blanket when I next vlog. So, talk to you all soon. Bye.